All right, it is time for my final thought. Now, as you know, we have plenty on our plate here in America. But imagine what it's like living in a war zone. You know, when our loved ones go out to do everyday things, we expect them to come back home. We don't expect them to get hit with bombs. We're not taking shelter in underground bunkers and living in a state of constant fear. Well, that is what life has been like for Syrian families during their nearly 7-year civil war. For context, our civil war lasted 4 years, and we didn't have chemical weapon attacks or long-range missiles dropping into our bedrooms. Now, what does strike me, though, is that the outrage about what's going on in Syria has been mostly non-existent. This is a humanitarian crisis that has cost more than 5 million lives, but most of the coverage I've heard is on the desirability of its refugees. Now, after more than 500 deaths last week alone, including 190 women and children, I was actually encouraged this weekend when it appeared that the United Nations had agreed to a 30-day ceasefire to allow for humanitarian aid. Now, this wasn't an end to the conflict, mind you. This was just a brief respite in the nightmare that's been this decade in Syria. However, in a last-minute attempt to get Russian support, the sponsors of the ceasefire, Kuwait and Sweden, dropped a mandate that the ceasefire take effect in 72 hours. So now that ceasefire has no start date. The ball is in Russia's court until this ceasefire can be renegotiated, so families in Syria continue to be torn apart by bombs, living in horror day by day as we play diplomatic footsie. I only hope those with the power to expedite the end of all this suffering find the humanity and empathy to treat the situation with the urgency it demands. I'm on Facebook Live now. Let me know your thoughts. We'll continue this conversation.